Nothing works with an otome game romance quite like a mystery. It's probably the quintessential genre paired in any otome game or visual novel. You can have your romance and a sense of danger. A thriller that asks you to question every choice you make because any decision could be your last. And if you're like me, it usually is. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. You don't have to have them together, but oh boy is it delicious when you do. Caller X Malice lives and dies by this combo. If you aren't thinking about your chosen love interest, you're delving into the depths of a terrorist plot tearing the country of Japan apart. It's a title that screams true crime podcast. And as a white woman in my mid-20s, normally, there is nothing more tantalizing than a romantic true crime podcast. Like most games, I started by naming myself. I decided on Shirley because that seemed like a smart person name. Shirley is a police officer in the city of Shinjuku, a section of Tokyo for my non-Japanese viewers. She works in the SRCPO unit, or Special Regions Crime Prevention Office, a police unit that acts as a glorified secretary and handles calls from a concerned populace. And boy are the people concerned! For the past 5 months, the area of Shinjuku has been the site of 9 terrorist attacks. Starting in May, every month a person or set of people are killed in a horrible crime with a coin and a countdown nearby. Then a video would be released where the group Adonis would take credit for the crime and inform the citizens of their fight for justice against a corrupt judicial system. The whole thing is filed under the X Day incidents, as the countdown heads towards some sort of X Day where Adonis' plans will truly come to fruition. Shirley has no connection with the investigation, being a low-level cop, but with her superior Mochida and her friend Saeki, she's trying to help the people of Shinjuku as best she can. On the 5th of December, the last day before X Day, Shirley is called out to handle a situation at a nearby park. Turns out, it's a trap, and she's tased and moved to a nearby church. When she awakes, Shirley finds she can't move, but she can feel a collar on her neck. Seconds later, 3 hot dudes bust in, ready to rumble. Then the caller decides it's time to speak, for now is the perfect time to monologue about the premise for this game. It sounds a bit like this.
Hello, potential lovers. We at Adonis think Shirley is pretty swell. In fact, we think she's so swell we'd like her to join our organization. So we challenge you all to figure out the secrets of the X Day incidents, because it's some messed up stuff and we're pretty sure you'll join us once you see the bigger picture. Also, don't tell the police, because that's too easy. If you do anything to hurt Shirley, we kill you. If you tell the police, we kill Shirley. If you don't like the video and subscribe to FallenGale's channel, we will find you and fit you with a poison-injecting collar. Everyone cool? Great. Peace out, homies.
Okay, so Adonis says it in a more menacing and grandiose style, but it's basically the same thing. Shirley doesn't trust these random dudes don't trust Shirley, and Mochida has been calling you for hours trying to figure out where the heck you are. So you leave the church alone and plan to meet the guys at their hideout later after you clear up your absence at work. Once outside, you run into Mochida, who is very, very worried. So comes your first choice. You can choose to be obedient and lie to your superior and trusted friend, or you could choose to be brave, to stand up against tyranny and fear, and help the investigation despite the danger to yourself. You could be a real hero here, save thousands of lives, or you could be a coward. So, Shirley does the right thing, and tells Mochida about the collar. And promptly dies. Oops, guess listening to terrorist was the right answer. So this is the story of Donuts, a police officer in the city of Shinjuku, a section of Tokyo for my non-Japanese viewers. She gets captured and collared and threatened, and when she sees Mochida, she lies. She lies like she's never lied before. So Donuts meets up with the guys who helped her and finally gets to really meet the main cast. There's Enomoto, an eccentric history buff who isn't the smartest in the bunch but seems to be the friendliest. Sasazuka, a talented hacker whose attitude is as bad as his diet. Shiraishi, a criminal profiler that loves cats and is bored by almost anything else. Yanagi, a dedicated detective who cooks, cleans, and smokes like a 1950s housewife. And finally, Okazaki, a Secret Service officer with an overly friendly personality and an overly odd palate. Enomoto, Sasazuka, and Yanagi are all former cops who left the force during the X-Day incidents. Together with Shiraishi, the former cops are investigating the cases together for their own reasons. Okazaki is kinda separate, as he's just there to inform the police about their actions. So Donuts talks about her situation. She meets up with some other supporting characters and decides which case she wants to investigate, and the story truly begins. And it's quite the story. Everything in this game is a mood. The sound that plays when you're in the midst of discovering a clue, the aesthetics of the text boxes and the menus, the evidence logs and bullet action, all of it is lovingly wrapped in crime drama tones. It pays equal attention to both the romance aspect and the mystery, making it a fun balance between heart-racing romance and heart-pounding thrills. Now, Collar X Malice is a one-on-one kind of otome game, meaning you might not realize that this is a choice actually deciding whose route you'll be on, but once you make this decision, it's going to be about 3 to 4 hours of adventure with this one guy. And each route is very different from the others, but don't worry, all good ends resolve the plot somewhat. I'd recommend Enomoto's first, because this route is less about the whole of X-Day and more about one specific case and Enomoto's feelings because of it. He doesn't learn all that much about the bigger picture, but you'll get a sense of how the game works and the beginnings of the mystery involved. He's probably the most frustrating when it comes to mystery because he isn't that smart, nor is he really dedicated to solving the crimes. But he's got a good heart, and it paints the heroine in a good light to compare her drive and sense of justice to his. Next, I would go for Sasazuka. He's tough to get close to and tough to impress, but boy do you feel special when he praises you like the pet you are. He's on top of the cases, and you'll get a much clearer picture of the entire set of incidents from his route. This is a route that feels like you aren't fully necessary though. The heroine does help out, but compared to some other routes, Sasazuka definitely comes off as doing the heavy lifting in this one. Third should probably be Okazaki, but I'll get to him in a sec. Fourth is Shiraishi, who is going to be the closest thing to enemies to lovers in this game. He doesn't directly oppose you, but he is very teasing and self-serving, which makes working with him a pain. But then you get that good old-fashioned story of understanding each other and showing him you're not like other girls, or even other people. You get almost everything in terms of the mystery too, so I would definitely hold off on playing this until you've tried everyone else first. And then finally, there is Yanagi. Look, I've been transparent about how I feel when it comes to true routes, and this one is no different. It has all the stops, a boring, practically perfect love interest with boring hair and even more boring problems, the complete story that resolves everything in the best way possible, and a connection to the heroine that goes back to her childhood. That's right, this route has, say it with me now, the main heroine having convenient amnesia. It's everything that bores me in a route, so I'm gonna be honest and say that I remember very little, and I didn't want to replay it just to describe it for 30 seconds in this video. So let's talk about Okazaki instead. Everyone has a set of tropes and events that make them the happiest when it comes to otome games. Sometimes it can be as simple as they start out as enemies but gradually fall in love. Sometimes it's complex, like the heroine has something important that only she can do, but she has to do it away from the love interest, and they worry about each other but trust each other to do the job that they need to do for the sake of humanity or something, but then the place the heroine is in explodes and the love interest is convinced she's dead until she comes and saves him at the last minute, reviving his hope in humanity. Sometimes it's just the love interest has long hair. But what matters is that when your favorite events show up on screen, you feel alive and excited, and no matter how well written another plot may be, you can't beat this. It's pure personal satisfaction. A personal perfect route. Okazaki's route is my perfect route. Everything in this route speaks directly to the most basic romantic in me, the very core of my being. It has a soft and friendly start where he's a bit of an odd one, but you kinda like it. The slow build up to thinking you might like him as more than a friend. The sudden betrayal and recontextualization of your relationship that ultimately makes you stronger. Cute emoji exchanges. A super protective love who would die for you. Oh god, he took that way too literally. A verbal fight based on love for one another, the threat to your loved one's life, the self-sacrifice complete with emotional goodbyes as you know you have to do something awful in order to keep them alive. The prevention of that self-sacrifice by desperately crying together over the fact that you almost killed yourself for his sake, and he knows it was because they threatened his life, but he's strong enough to protect you both. The confrontation where he does something incredibly dangerous but really cool to save your life. And the final fight where you team up only for you to push him away and take a bullet for him because gosh darn it, you just moved without thinking because you love him too much, and as you plead out, you tell him you love him because this might be your last chance and he has to know even though he begs you to save her for when you get better, but it's all okay in the end because you live happily ever after. So even though they did him dirty with his main character art and his head looks like a cut open shallot, I can't help it. I'm a sucker for self-sacrifice, and that is literally 90% of this plot. This is like injecting heroin directly into my veins. And not only is it my favorite tropes and plots, it is also the route where the heroine has the most agency. Okazaki isn't investigating the X-Day crimes, he's just focused on protecting everyone, so all the investigating and mystery solving is only pushed ahead by your character searching for the truth. And in the end, you're shooting down as many bad guys as he is, so the heroine finally feels as cool as the rest of the main cast. But that leads me to my gripes with this title. Overall, I think X Malice is a very solid story with a great art, great ambiance, and a great mystery. But, like everything, it has its flaws. The first is the widely inconsistent importance of the heroine. For some routes, the heroine is incredibly important and pushes the narrative forward. In others, the heroine is about as pointless as Enomoto's eye patch. I really wish the heroine was a better puzzle solver or detective, or that her sharpshooting skills were utilized more often, because the story sometimes feels like reading about other people's great adventures that you just happen to be present for. There is also something to be said about the fact that you'll probably figure out most of the culprits before the heroine does, based on the fact that they have art and other otome and mystery tropes. But I think that's more of an overarching genre issue rather than a problem with this specific title. The other big issue is the lack of quality control the deeper into the story you go. For the common route, there are few to no errors, but the longer you play, the more you'll start to see sentences cut off between frames and incorrect character names for the dialogue. It isn't impossible to figure out, but for a full price Switch title, I expect better than this. Literally call me, I will play test your game and check it for errors for like $100, because this is sad. And speaking of cash, this game also has a sequel, X Malice Unlimited, and I wouldn't buy it unless it's on sale. Maybe not even then. It's not that it's awful, but it's just kind of boring and the errors are even more prevalent. It comes with a story about a time you were investigated by Adonis, then the 5 epilogues to get the good ends, an Adonis route, and 3 short stories with some side characters. Whoa there, you might be thinking, that sounds awesome! I thought that too, but the investigation story is just 30 minutes of every character saying they don't trust this clearly shifty character. The epilogues are just generic, minor issues between couples that end in a proposal. Except for Okazaki's, which makes no sense because that story is apparently about how you don't understand him at all, and you guys just aren't ready for marriage because his love isn't true love yet, which is bullcrap. And then you have the Adonis story following a character's bad end where you are now a member of Adonis but you still hate them, so you just talk to all the members and form very basic friendships with everyone until you decide to kill them all. The short stories are kind of cute, but overall this edition was just boring and a slog to get through. Not to mention it barely qualifies as a game with how few choices there actually are in any of the stories. It did have real puzzles though. Would have loved to see those in the actual game instead. X Malice is a charming and engaging title that combines the thrill of solving crimes with the excitement of falling in love. It has some political undertones from a Japanese perspective, and it tackles themes about a corrupt justice system, so it has some challenging ideas it asks you to think about. This is a great title for otome lovers who want to exercise their brain muscle while they play. I FallenGale, and thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this sort of comment, and I'll catch you at the next romantic crime scene. Bye-bye!